Chabot on. He's with he has a company called Conservative Move. And there's a lot of conservative people politically who are getting out of California, moving to places like Texas because they can't take it anymore. And I guess everybody has their own definition of what it is. I tell you, though, I hesitate to make this a political thing because I don't think I've seen the polling. Nobody wants these gas taxes. Most people are against the sanctuary state. Most people are against universal health care in this state. We just have an abusive government, a criminal government. But in his case, there are conservative people calling him up and saying, help me out of here.
If people, whenever I see a poll, a lot of times people are like, well, yeah, we ought to do something on climate change. But then they're asked, would you pay higher prices for gas and energy? And they're like, no.
No.
When they realize what this cap and trade is going to do, because it's over the heads of most people. They're busy. They have lives. They're not really following this. And then we remind you, check out on the website. His name is Bjorn Lomborg. Did an opinion piece for the LA Times, and this guy actually is a climate change believer. That's the evidence you need to hand around to people to say, this cap and trade thing is going to make you pay a lot more in energy and gas prices, and it's going to be for zero, nothing, a waste. I think this is going to energize people once they realize the full impact of this, and I mean beyond conservatives who may be moving, but Democrats and independents too. I mean, this state's got a lot of poor people, and they're going to get hit.
Oh, yeah, if you're poor, you're getting hit.
This is the coastal elites who did this.
You're getting hit with
That's what they call them, and I think that's a great name for them.
You're getting
especially
hit
the Bay Area Democrats.
$600 a person gas tax. It doesn't matter what your income is. You're making $200,000. You're making $20,000. How's a person who's making $20,000 or $30,000 going to afford a $600 a year gas hit? And same thing for the spouse. That's $1,200. That could be 10% of your income.
It's more than that because all the trucking companies and all the deliveries, they're going to have to pay higher fuel prices. That's going to get passed on to you, too, in cost of goods. It's all going to factor in. Everything's going up.
But this guy's piece, and we have it on our website, says that even if California passed all its silly rules and stuck to them for 83 years, the effect, using the United Nations model, it would lower the worldwide temperature by 1/1000th of a degree.
1,000.
Yeah, 0.008. Okay. And you're paying
83 years from now.
83 years.
And he said even that's not a given because a lot of other things like carbon leakage can happen. I mean, companies leave the state and put out their carbon in other states. The founder of Conservative Move.
Paul, how are you?
I'm great. John and Ken, thanks for having me. Great to be with you, and thanks for all the good work you're doing out there in California.
Are you in Texas?
I am. I'm just outside of Dallas now, but I was born and raised in California. Moved out of Rancho Cucamonga with my wife and 4 kids in January.
And what drove you to leave?
Yeah, we loved California when we were kids. We had some of the best schools, safe streets, good-paying jobs, and many parts of it have just turned into honestly, a third world country. We are the opposite of what we were when I was a kid. And I've got 4 kids. We just decided it's time to get out and raise them in a place where it represents our values. And we tried, John and Ken, we tried out there to make a difference. I ran for Congress. We did all we could. But you can't help people who don't want to help themselves. And we wish the folks like you the best and trying to help those who are looking for a better life to offer that. And, just prayers to you guys for fighting the good fight.
Was there a breaking point or is it just cumulative?
I've been in law enforcement for 21 years and military for 16 at the same time. And so you get a chance to experience life, whether it's in the inner cities, the streets, the schools. And there was just a dramatic change throughout California, a mentality where people no longer care about their communities. There's trash everywhere. The liberals keep raising taxes, letting these so-called nonviolent felons out of prison. And honestly, we had enough. We simply had enough. My wife and I just looked at each other and just decided, this is it. We can't live this life anymore. We're not able to change it. Here, California is not the same state. Let's go somewhere where we can just live free, enjoy life with good schools, great paying jobs, and just the things that, a family, I think, would want.
How long have you been there?
Since January.
So what are what's your take on it?
It's incredible. I'll tell you what, first off, everybody here seems like they're from California. I initially thought getting out here would be out in the country, but we're not pioneers in this. So many people have already left California for other states, and many of them have come here to Texas or, as you know, Arizona, Idaho, because they've had enough. And a lot of people that are still in California that want to leave might not be able to leave. They're underwater in their house. They're waiting for retirement. Their kids might be in high school. So out here, look, the governor out here is awesome. He's fighting sanctuary cities. They're looking at bringing businesses, which they continue to do, from California. And I'll be honest, when I heard what the legislators passed in Sacramento this last go-around, I was floored. I just cannot comprehend what is happening, and it just seems like a nightmare for the people that are there.
This has been a year like no other with the stuff they're doing in Sacramento. I mean, we've been doing this a long time, and our head is spinning. And there's so many fights we have to wage right now over things like taxes and gas prices going up.
Paul, what does your company do?
Yep, so we are a company that works with realtors throughout the country, largely in liberal areas, California, and we help people who want to leave a liberal area. We help them sell their home by identifying a realtor, and then we help them identify a home in a conservative area of the country. Right now we're focused on North Texas here in Collin County. This whole area reminds me of Orange County in the 1980s with new streets, bridges, great paying jobs, etc. And then the third part of this is we help people find employment as well. So we, on our website, conservativemove.com, Contact Us page, people go there, they say, look, I'm fed up. And you should hear their stories, John and Ken. They're exactly what you're saying. They are broken. They've just had enough and they want out. So we do that. We help them sell their home, find an existing home, and then lead them to good-paying jobs out in this region, which there are many.
And how do you do that? How do you match up the employers with all these people who are moving?
Yep, so we'll use the regular search engines, and then we will micro-target North Texas. And so when you talk to recruiters out here, they cannot find enough accountants. They cannot find enough people in construction. They cannot find enough people in human resources. When you drive through North Texas, which is north of Dallas, from Plano to Frisco to Allen, you think of Toyota that just brought 3,000 jobs out of California, closing their North American headquarters out here to Plano. They're looking for jobs, and the corporations are here, and they're hiring. And not only are we saying this, but the Governor Abbott is saying this as well. They need skilled people here. In California, unfortunately, you got a lot of people who are housebroke. They're sitting in traffic right now, driving in a commute to and from L.A., and maybe their spouse has to work a job too, just so they can pay a mortgage on a home in an area that's turned into a third world country, and they're not happy. And all we're saying is, look, you don't need to live that life anymore. If your elected officials aren't fighting for you, you don't have to tolerate that.
All right, hold on a line. We're talking with Paul Chabot. He's got a company called Conservative Move.
Yeah, I'm looking at it, conservativemove.com, the website. And basically what they do is, and it says here, it's you and your family first decide to explore the idea of moving to a conservative region. Contact us to set up a free consultation. A lot of it's focused on Texas, but he says there are other places, too, they deal with.
John and Ken, KFI, Deborah Marquez News, called Conservative Move. And he's a former longtime California resident and misses the California of his childhood. The California of his adulthood has become a mess, as we've explained to you every day. So he took his wife, his 4 kids. He's been a police officer, military guy, tried to run for office, and decided he's going to help people move from California to Texas, among other places, connect them with employment opportunities, find them, a dream home. And it's a lot cheaper there. You get a lot more space, and it's a lot less money. Let's continue with Paul here. Paul, give us a rundown of the normal complaints you hear from your customers. What's the tipping point, or what's the list of things that they can't take anymore about California?
There's about 3 or 4 that always come up. I think when you talk about the last 48 hours, though, honestly, John and Ken, it's been just they're furious with the state. I mean, a week ago, there were, the typical issues, right? Crime's out of control, schools are bad, stuck in a commute, got it. But in the last 48 hours or so, there's been a new hit within people, and we see it on our Facebook page, on our emails, on our messages. These are, staunch folks who are fed up with their party in California with what just happened, and it's as if they've just given up. They said this is the last straw. The people that I elect can't vote for the very things that we expected them to. then there is truly nothing left for us. And that's the unique part in the last 48 hours. But I will say, you talk to people in various areas. They see crime that has just exploded because of AB 109, Prop 47. The governor's office doesn't care. When I worked in the state prison system as a state parole board commissioner, we had 20% of the population were illegal, alien, hardened gang members that were consistently crossing the border. And nobody seemed to care. And I think that's how Californians feel, at least who feel like they need to
They
get
don't
out.
care.
Nobody cares.
All these issues that we're talking about are clear. They're in our faces. It's statistically proven. You can see it in your everyday life. They don't care. I don't know why they have such an obsessive mission to destroy the state, but they're on that mission, and they're succeeding.
It's like a canary in the coal mine, I think, for the rest of America, to look at California as an example of what not to become, because I don't see how it gets better. It's almost like a drug addict. You got to hit rock bottom before you get help, and rock bottom for California is probably right around the corner, and maybe that's the turn. But every time a shoe drops, we keep thinking that the people are going to rise up and things are going to change, and they keep electing these same people over and over and over again, and nothing changes.
Now, Texas does not have a state income tax, so I guess one thing people find out is that the cost of living there can be much cheaper.
It is. I pay about $1.98 a gallon for gas, and maybe the high at $2.15. There is no state income tax, and also if you're a small business owner like myself, especially if you're a veteran, they waive the annual tax you got to pay just to be a business. So there's a lot of opportunity for not only major corporations looking for a lower a cost for their company to come to, from employment to wages to utilities, but also for business startups. It's much more friendly here, much easier to work through the system in Texas than in California.
So you're getting a lot of inquiries, you said, this week?
It's been out of control. We've gotten over 1,000 in probably the last 48 hours, and before that we had about 1,000 in total. We've only been operational for about 3 or 4 weeks. And we've spent just a small amount on advertising on Facebook, but it's caught on by word of mouth. And we've already had families out here that have put bids on homes, that have sold their homes in San Bernardino, and are already on the road out here to Texas. And so it's happening, I would say, fairly rapidly, and it's happening also by word of mouth.
So the weather and the beauty of California is not strong enough anymore to hold on to them.
Well, look, that's, what I miss. I mean, California's got the coastal beaches, but let's be honest. It takes you 2-3 hours to get there. You're dealing with dirty diapers sometimes, trying to find parking. And, a lot of the beauty there you can't get to. Or if you go in the mountains sometimes, you're finding graffiti tagged all over the place. So you're not feeling safe anymore to put your kids in some of these parks, like in San Francisco, where they're going to, legalize needle exchanges and other nonsense. I think that we take away politics and we ask the one question of voters, and that is, what kind of community do you want to raise your kids in, for crying out loud?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's not about politics. It's that the traffic is horrible, and that the taxes are extreme. They have criminals running rampant all over the place. They let illegal immigration get out of control, and it's impossible to get anywhere. And then when you get somewhere, it's just not worth it. It's not what it used to be.
Right.
And,
absolutely.
And the schools stink.
Yeah.
And everyone's exhausted by this. It's just a constant assault on normal people. It's a constant assault on the middle class.
Yeah, let me give you an example. Out here where I am in McKinney, Texas, it was rated #1 by Money Magazine. 2 other cities next to us, Frisco, Allen, Plano, top 10 in America. The school district that my kids go to have a 98.2% graduation rate. When I went to my kids' school, they don't have locks on the lockers. None of the kids locked their bikes up. I had 3 bikes stolen that were locked up in California. It's just a very different way of life. You feel like you've gone back in time about 50 years.
Well, if you empty the prisons, what do you think you're going to get?
Yeah. Well,
you empty the prisons, you open the borders, life is going to change.
Yeah.
It's not going to be what
state full of criminals.
Yeah.
All right, Paul, thanks for talking to us. Again, it's conservativemove.com. Paul Chabot, thanks for coming on.
Thanks.
All right. And, of course, the LA Times did a story on Paul's company, and trying to be balanced, man, do they load this with all – what was my favorite line I was just reading about the competition between Texas and California. California has higher taxes, but it's to fund stronger social services.
Yeah, right. For all the criminals.
And a better public university system. Really?
Yeah.
What a
that for years you couldn't get into because they were letting so many people from out of state and out of the country in.
It's hard to defend this place with the Times tries on a daily basis. All right, we got more coming up.
John and Ken Show, KFI, Deborah Marquez News.